Hey, and a good evening. I'm meteorologist Chris Smith here for Panhandle Weather Live at 6 o'clock. Hopefully, you've had a wonderful Monday weather-wise. Difficult to complain a whole lot about it as we bring in meteorologist Dan Nyman. I didn't have any complaints about the weather today. Did you?
No, it was pretty nice. Another window down driving day, I'd say, across the area. A little cooler out there right now. You definitely can feel less moisture in the atmosphere today than this past weekend where it wasn't quite humid, but definitely a little different than what we saw to start off last week.
Yeah. To enjoy it, because the window to enjoy it is we got probably less than 24 hours left before the southerly winds kind of take over. We already saw near the coast a little bit of the sea breeze push inland today with that moisture slowly returning. But yeah, it's definitely going to be getting more humid as we move throughout the week. Now the question is, will we see any rainfall from it?
Yeah, certainly looks like chances are low, but obviously we all have our fingers crossed and we definitely could use that rainfall, Chris. It's been a long time since we've seen meaningful rain.
Yeah, and right now, slim to none is what we got. We'll talk more about that in a minute. There's a live look right now for my friends over into Destin as we looked out at a decked out Harbor Walk Village this evening. Temperature 70 degrees. You see the dew point temperature there, 59 degrees. So that's been on the uptick from where, say, inland areas are. Meanwhile, Panama City Beach, the daylight has faded away. We still had a few folks out there just a little while ago enjoying the sunset and still able to dine outside as temperatures hadn't gotten too cold. Live Doppler radar is all quiet right now. Temperatures currently into the 60s and 70s across our region. 68 up into Jackson County, 68 Liberty County, 70 degrees over into Bay County. Dew point temperatures, remember I told you, or we talked about the dew point temperature in Destin in the upper 50s. Look at that, inland 40s, 30s, even up into northern Jackson County. So quite a bit drier air up here. Right along the coastline, we did have a little bit more of that moisture return today, and that will only continue over the next several days. Winds remain very, very light, though, across our area. So up into parts of Missouri, we got some severe weather ongoing this evening. You can see that there. There we go, just got an alert. Panhandle weather's on live right now. Showers and thunderstorms moving across Missouri, stretching on over into Springfield, Missouri, or Springfield, Illinois, moving into that area. We have very active weather out across the western part of the United States as well. So we bring it back here closer to home, looking at live Doppler radar, and we don't have any rainfall out there this evening. It will be quiet. As we look at your forecast for the rest of tonight, we'll see temperatures dropping down from the 70s into the 60s, and eventually we'll be into the 50s across our area. Expect 50s, maybe even Jackson County, where that drier air mass over there towards Jackson and Calhoun counties could drop into the upper 40s. Notice for the beaches, we'll keep a pretty good range here. Temperatures closer to about 70 degrees. Now, for more on some of the photos, this is one of the photos we got today, Dan. What do we have here?
That was me at my house last week. It looked like it saved the image, but we got all sorts of photos coming in over the last 24 hours this weekend as well. Of course, thank you so much for sending those over to us here. You see with the cirrus clouds out there right now, or earlier on, got this, looks like a little sundog maybe, Chris, there. That little reflection there in the clouds coming off of the sun up in Bayou George. So thank you so much, Heather, for sending in that photo.
When I picked up Charlie, we saw it, and he was asking questions about it. Where was that from?
It's taking an interest in weather. We love that. Let's move on to the next photo here. Is of course, a whole lot happening over the last couple of days. Great sunsets here. We've seen, even tonight I saw a good one, but this one coming in from Darren here in Panama City Beach, and there you see a little rougher as well. So this was before that front came through this past weekend, Chris. You saw still that onshore wind was present. And then, of course, still a cotton candy colored sky out there. June sending that in from over in Callaway, over towards my neck of the woods. This must have been last night, Chris.
Yes.
Hardly peeked out the window thanks to red zone, but it did look like through the window there was pretty good color out there. Should have taken a second to step outside. Great pictures coming in once again, and it looks like we have one more here for us as Claudette sending this one in. Same sort of idea, after sunset glow there on the high level clouds, producing a little pink across the otherwise blue hues in the sky. one thing to look out for tonight, the Leonid meteor shower, which has been kind of an ongoing thing. You may have seen meteor photos across Facebook. We've had a few on Panhandle weather as well. The peak was last night, but you'll see it's a good time range here, all the way until December 2nd. And of course, that starts to trail off probably this weekend, but tonight about as good of a viewing chance as you could get. Moonlight is low out here, or increasing, I should say, but of course, not a whole lot of cloud coverage out there either. You'll be able to catch those over the next several hours. And Chris, do you remember what direction you need to look up?
East. Towards Leo. Leo rises, the constellation Leo that looks like the lion, rises at right around midnight or so tonight. So there's a window as Leo rises, but before the moon rises.
Yeah.
Moon rises at 4:50 in the morning. So there'll be a window mainly after midnight to see it. That's not to say you can't see one right now, but your best chance to see it would be probably after midnight as Leo rises in the east, although you can generally look anywhere because they fly across the sky. But people were asking generally east. Yeah, check it out. And it's not going away completely. It's just that this is kind of towards the peak of activity. And when you see 100 meteors, we're not going to see 100 meteors. That's for when you have a meteor storm. Probably more realistic is probably closer to 5 to 15 per hour, but you have to be under ideal conditions in order to be able to see that. But if you are a good photographer, you might be able to snap some photos of it. You're going to need to do the long exposure in order to be able to see it and all that stuff. But we would love for you to submit them. You can do so by downloading the Panhandle Weather app. It's free in the iTunes App Store, Google Play Store. And that's how you download it and then submit it within the app right there. And we'll be sure to share it. So good luck.
Yeah, I was just reading about an hour ago, I think, on Twitter about the meteor storm in 1968, I want to say.
Yes.
More than 1,000 per hour. Looks like it's raining meteors.
That's unbelievable.
I would love to have seen that. We'll put that right next to the green flash. That's things you could have seen, but you missed out.
The conspiracy theories that would rise from that one. Woo.
We won't cover those on Panhandle Weather Live tonight, but it's certainly worth maybe taking the time after midnight tonight to grab a look. We have a whole lot more to look at, though. Of course, this week, temperatures rising, Chris mentioned, maybe a rain chance getting into the weekend, and then the big talker, all of the changes in the pattern coming into December. We'll talk about the likelihood of seeing that here and what other sort of funny business we could get into if all things work out coming up in a few minutes.
Your piece of land demands the very best equipment. Kubota equipment. The #1 selling compact tractor in the U.S. with professional grade mowers, versatile sidekick utility vehicles, and compact tractors that get it done right. All backed by unmatched dealer support. Talk to your dealer today to schedule a demo.
Now is a great time for a new Toyota, where you can get 1.99% APR on a new Camry and get $500 in holiday cash. Get 3.49% APR on a new Corolla and get $500 in holiday cash. Get 1.99% on a new Tacoma, plus $1,000 in holiday cash. And 1.99% on a new Tundra, plus you'll get $1,000 in holiday cash. Visit our lot or browse online at Panama City Toyota.
Everyone has a ritual, that small thing that keeps us focused.
A habit we never skip to clear our minds and elevate our performance.
But what do you do to keep your head in the game, to drown out that self-doubt and support your mental health? Because being your best isn't just about taking care of your body.
It's about taking care of your mind and your mental health.
Discover the resources that you need to keep your mind focused and your mental health a priority.
Now, from your trusted team of meteorologists at Panhandle Weather, this is your evening forecast update.
And a good evening. Hopefully you're having a wonderful night tonight here across Northwest Florida. Weather-wise, pretty comfortable conditions out there this evening as we take a live look out over into Panama City Beach. This is Pineapple Willie's. You got the pier there. Temperature 68 degrees. Dew point of 57 degrees. So you can feel that humidity out there right now. Meanwhile, as we look out over into this is Destin over at the Ocean Reef Resort. There's always a bonfire out there, and tonight, not to be disappointed, there is a bonfire. Again, dew point temperature up to 58 degrees there as well. And over at Sharky's on Panama City Beach, again, quiet conditions this evening. Here's what's happening. Your forecast headlines over the next 24 hours is briefly less humid, but that mugginess returns by Tuesday, at least by the second half of the day. This week, the dry weather pattern continues, and rain chances maybe not until the weekend. And even that is looking very, very fringe. So watch what happens as we move through the night tonight. We'll see a little bit of an onshore flow. You notice how the clouds are moving south to north? That's that onshore flow Tuesday morning. And as that develops, especially across the western panhandle, eventually it will progress its way to the east. But what that does, that opens up the Gulf, and that brings in that deeper tropical moisture across our area. And that will become more and more noticeable each and every day over the next several days. And you see how that eventually, when we get into a southwesterly flow, begins to push its way inland. Right now, it's just a very light southerly flow across our area. We go offshore during the overnight hours and then quickly bring it back in out of the southeast. So I want you to pay attention, Pensacola. Notice the arrows are just pointing directly at it. And eventually those arrows start pointing back up across Destin and over into Inlet Beach. This is Tuesday evening at 8 o'clock. And as we move into Wednesday, notice pretty much most of our area gets into that light onshore flow with that southwesterly wind by Wednesday. And that's when the humidity really begins to go up. And you'll see what I'm talking about. There's your dry air mass right now. Moisture, notice where is it? The green over towards Pensacola, that onshore wind. As we move through tonight into Tuesday, we'll continue to see that moisture stay basically to the west, and then watch as it moves Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday night and into Wednesday. It begins to kind of propagate along the coastline and then gradually make its way inland. So our dew point temperatures, while briefly lower, will pop up over the coming days, and it will definitely get more humid by the end of the week. Low temperatures for tonight, 40s and 50s inland, right around 60 for the beaches. For the kids at school on Tuesday, a dilemma day for sure. Cool start, but look at the afternoon highs. Approaching 80 degrees on your Tuesday. And high temperatures Tuesday, again, showing that 70s for the beaches, but 80, right around 80, upper 70s to near 80 elsewhere. Notice Wednesday morning, remember that moisture coming in. More 50s, not as many 40s, and then higher into the 60s right along the coastline. So one thing to watch on Wednesday morning will be the possibility of some dense fog, and you'll see that as we move through the overnight hours Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Some of the fog could be on the pretty dense side, at least less than a half mile of visibility, especially across the western half of our area, say west of 231, and then high temperatures rebound quickly. This will just be brief radiational fog. It won't last too long, but it will be out there. We'll see 70s and 80s for your Wednesday. Now, as we head into the weekend, quiet weather, partly cloudy skies, but look at this. We do have a chance for a little bit of rainfall. For more on that, let's go to meteorologist Dan Nyman.
Everybody hoping to see some rainfall, of course. Not a whole lot to wash out the weekend, but we do need it. We need to catch up on the dry conditions that have been present across the Panhandle pretty much all throughout this fall season. Meteorological winter right around the corner now as well, at least for us. We start keeping track of that on December 1st. Your temperature setup, though, not feeling like winter's around the corner by any stretch of the imagination. Here's today across Texas, parts of Arkansas, into southern Oklahoma as well. Big ridge of high pressure starting to take shape. Temperatures up to 20 degrees warmer than average. On the flip side of that, you have a little clipper system continuing to feed in bands of lake effect snow. That's across parts of Pennsylvania and New York, and then you see that stretching through Canada as well. This flow pattern continues here over the next week, and they'll continue to see that kind of cool and wet and somewhat cloudy weather continuing, and obviously a chance of snow would come from that too as the winds blow across the lake. I think lake water temperatures, Chris, still around 50 degrees right now, so lake effect snow probably something we see all the way into January before that that freeze ultimately happens. Your weather pattern across the country, we saw today a couple of thunderstorms from eastern Colorado stretching across parts of Kansas, and then even further east than that, little upper level system here, just a bit of energy streaming through the atmosphere towards the east. And as we get into Tuesday, it continues on that eastward track, very zonal or west to east jet stream present here. So the little perturbations or waves there will help to spur up small areas of lift, very isolated chances of showers and thunderstorms to our north. But for us, it's still, well, high and dry. That's because of this ridge, which continues to funnel towards the eastern part of the country. You have trough back west, but that sets up shop here. You'll see that low almost becoming cut off to an extent across the four corners. It takes the second wave, a burst of energy here, to eventually get that kick towards the east. But your Saturday, you'll see here, still not getting a move on. So that'll be one big question mark in the forecast, because we need something like that on the west coast to bring us meaningful rain chances. You'll see here for the weekend, we still have a little bit of troughiness, but it's generally just a west to east flow. Any rainfall we see would have to be homegrown. So the moisture and the temperature rising with a slight sea breeze would be the best chance for us to spark up just a small chance of showers. But as far as pattern-based lift, doesn't look like a lot. And that's why you see rain chances are pretty low over the next 7 days. Ultimately, you have that system that lifted towards the north, big front stretching west to east here. Some thunderstorms could be strong towards the mid part of the week back west, but then ultimately this cold front kind of fizzles out. You see showers and thunderstorms up across the Carolinas, but the backside of that for us, it's a little more cloud coverage, a mix of sun and clouds Saturday into Sunday morning, but ultimately not a whole lot to write home about as far as rainfall is concerned, and then the big drop coming there in cloud coverage. So rain chances much higher back west for us. You see that falling off pretty quickly. Not a whole lot to get excited about, Chris, but I think the western panhandle, probably a little closer to maybe 1/10 of an inch if you're lucky. We just don't have a whole lot of energy to work with right now.
Yeah, that's going to be the case, is that all the energy and all that stuff is either staying west of us or passing just north of us, and as a result, it just kind of drags through a weak front like you saw in that graphic before. It just kind of fizzled out as it came through. So nothing really, kicking in the door, if you will, as far as the rainfall chances. It'll happen at some point, but it's not happening anytime soon. Maybe the early part of next week. There's still some indications, but at this point, I kind of believe it when I see it.
One thing I will say about this pattern, and you'll see here on the left box on your screen, this sort of structure to the rainfall, or layout you might call it, very indicative of a La Nina sort of winter. So you have the rain showers and thunderstorms back across Texas, Chris, but then a big ridge ultimately sets up across the northeastern Gulf. So you have these spurts, especially 7+ days out on the model, where it's like, hey, we have a chance of rain 10 days out, but then as we get closer and closer in time and that front gets closer and closer, you often see things fizzle out pretty quickly, and that certainly is the case here as we get into the very early part of winter for us. Once again, that starts December 1st.
Yes, meteorological winter. So as far as our temperature trend, there you see 70s for the coastline. We're seeing the impact there of the fact that of the temperatures into the 70s because of the water temperature, 71 degrees. And then we're into the 80s up across the I-10 corridor, maybe cooling off some as we head into next week. We'll see. Low temperatures again creeping up, and then possibly cooling off just a bit as we get that front to kind of slip on through. But again, it really wasn't bringing a whole lot to our area. So expect generally above average temperatures. As you look at the 7-day forecast, 20% chance at the coast Saturday. That's about it. Quiet weather into next week, but mainly 70s. I mean, really delightful weather. We could just use some rainfall, but unfortunately, we're not going to get it. So in the meantime, I guess if it's not going to rain, we might as well just have like Chamber of Commerce type weather, and that's exactly what we're going to see here over the next 7 days.
And probably, we were looking today, all the way through Thanksgiving, it looks like we're going to be on the warmer side of things. Maybe a small chance towards the early part of next week, but no real travel disruptive weather here as we get into next week. Obviously, a busy time of year for that. Can't say the same for all of the United States, but certainly for us, there aren't any threatening troughs coming through. So driving around the Panhandle for Thanksgiving itself, Black Friday shopping afterwards, not that many people do that as much anymore. Things looking pretty good, pretty dry, and temperatures, as you're seeing here, are going to continue right around that upper 70, lower 80 benchmark. And that's pretty surprising because normal high temperatures now this time of year towards the lower 70s, and by the end of this year, we still have another 10 degrees to chop off. So this warmth becoming more and more anomalous as time continues to move forward.
Yeah.
Temperatures should be kind of consistently dropping off, but we're not seeing that right now because of that ridge of high pressure.
Yeah, it's we're just going to end up staying kind of high and dry across northwest Florida here as we make our way over the course of the week. Did you, let's see, what all do we want to talk about here? We had a couple things we were going to talk about.
We have Christmas lights and
Yes.
December pattern changes. Christmas lights, certainty. Pattern change is a little bit more fun to look out into the future, but I think you're getting that pulled up right now.
Yes.
So we can talk a little bit about what you probably have seen on social media, and that is a sudden stratospheric warming event. We kind of hinted at this last Friday at 6 o'clock, but there certainly is a signal for a pattern change across the northern hemisphere. So not just North America, but parts of Europe and Asia as well could see a big change in temperatures. And normally we talk about the polar vortex in the weather content, in the weather department, that the concept of the tropospheric polar vortex. So that's where we live, the bottom layer of the atmosphere. All of your weather for the winter months generally has some influence from the jet stream right here, but there's also a polar vortex in the stratosphere that can lead to some pattern changes as we get in towards big changes in temperature. Stratosphere, interesting because it's where the ozone layer lives. Temperatures rise with height right there. You can see that collar going back towards the right side of the screen. Meanwhile, in the troposphere, if you ever fly on a commercial airliner, you'll find temperatures about 40,000 feet, anywhere from minus 30 to minus 50 degrees. It cools off as you go up. That's not super important for this part of the forecast. What is important is a change in temperatures in the stratosphere right over the poles. You can see that with this loop here, which moves kind of quickly, but look back up towards Alaska here and then parts of Russia right there. You can see just towards the mid part of this loop, big warm temperature spurt right there down towards parts of northern Canada. That is a sudden stratospheric warming event, which causes a change in the direction of the winds. And this all matters, I promise. It is kind of annoying to listen to, but there's your high pressure, or at least clockwise spinning winds in the stratosphere here, and that causes the air to sink, and it warms, and it disrupts the tropospheric polar vortex. So as we get in towards December here, you'll notice the Arctic oscillation, or the polar vortex, turns negative. That means, Chris, we could see a much more unsettled pattern as we get, here you see, this is the end of November, now getting into December. A lot more waves expected out there. Those waves can help us to bring back some troughs into the pattern. And that, of course, means cold fronts, more volatile weather, and potentially, at least for a brief period of time, much cooler weather. So we'll see if we can pull all of those factors together. There is a lot more at play, though, than that.
Yeah, and so Dan, what he was just talking about here is located on our website here. You go to the blog entry there at the top, and if you scroll down, right there, it's the first story, and there you'll see it, is everything that Dan was talking about as far as, what this could possibly mean, and, how likely is it that we would end up seeing this scenario play out with this cold weather. A lot of folks have been, because there's been a lot of stuff on social media for the end of the month about this massive cold front that's going to make it really, really cold. And not saying it's not going to happen, but what gets the headlines is the European model, which says it's going to get really, really cold. But what doesn't get headlines is the GFS, which says it's going to stay a little above average.
Yeah, and that's one of the interesting things about these events, which, you usually get one in the winter time. It's normally more of a February, end of February sort of thing. So it is rare to have in the end of November. But either way, although it disrupts the cold air, it doesn't say it's going to North America. Obviously, there are a lot more places, well, it's not behind me here, but there are a lot more places around the world that could see that cold air sink to the south. So it's an opportunity for us to maybe fight against the La Nina warmth that we normally see. It could help us to see some stronger thunderstorms, or heaven forbid we could see temperatures cold and precipitation. I'm not going to say the word, but all of that is way down the road to figure out. This is
Yeah.
pattern recognition, which basically means, hey, the jet stream's going to be disrupted and you'll probably see more volatile weather all across the northern hemisphere. Anywhere north of the equator could see an impact from this. And it's still not a slam dunk yet. I think by next Wednesday, if the models continue to point towards this, it's a lot more likely, but right now you're in that 60% chance likelihood range. Obviously 50-50 is a coin flip, and less than 50% means it's unlikely to happen. So
we're kind of getting out into that fantasy land as to what's going to end up happening. One thing it does look like is that we're going to stay warm through Thanksgiving, that we're not going to see any significant cool downs. If anything, we return to closer to average.
Yeah.
But I think above average through Thanksgiving is going to be where we're at. Now, the other thing that I've been working on, I haven't put it on the website officially yet. Dan has to show me how to do that. But I wrote the story for it. And guess what? Christmas Lights is back. And even better, Dan, is while we were on air, Danny Riles, real estate up there in Bluntstown. Everyone knows Danny up in Bluntstown.
Danny's the best.
But he's in for sponsorship of it, so which is fantastic. So thank you very much, Danny. I really, really appreciate it. It's like my favorite thing in the world. And so we're going to be doing that. And we have our Google map there. It goes back to 2016. Let's say I can only do 10 years. So I had to delete 2015. So it goes back to 2016. All the Christmas light displays that y'all have submitted. So I will get this up and we'll get this going here. But, you know, we'll wait till Thanksgiving probably to like really get into it. But we'll do Christmas lights again. Fantastic. I had the Christmas lights guys were here at the house today.
It's ridiculously early.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they got a lot of work to do.
I'm sure.
I would rather be early than waiting till after Thanksgiving.
Clearly, they're going alphabetized by first name, and Chris came about mid-November.
Exactly. So anyway, thank you very much for that. Did we have anything else?
I don't know. My iPad's on 2%, so we should be wrapping this one up here in a
It's
second.
6:30. Time for dinner.
Yeah, sounds good. But we'll keep an eye out, of course, for those pattern changes for December.
Yes.
I think next week, around this time, we'll be able to really give you a good idea of the overall pattern for December. Some cold weather fans that will love it if it works out. Some warm weather fans and snowbirds that'll be pretty upset. Can't make everybody happy. That's the number one thing I've learned being a meteorologist.
Okay, Ronald, hello. Jessica, you're welcome. She would appreciate the scientific explanation on what's going on. Melissa, thank you. Yvette, Bruce, Shannon, Doyle, Tommy, Kim, thank you very much for watching tonight.
Always a good time. Panhandle Weather Live. More updates, of course, on the channel all the way until 11:30 tonight. And then your morning updates with Chris just after 4:30 tomorrow morning. We'll see
Bright
you
and
later.
early.